Aloha, and welcome to this episode of the Hawaii Smooth Jazz Connection. I am your host, Gwen Harris. My guest today is known as one of the most versatile and prolific acoustic guitarists in the contemporary jazz scene. He is also a music composer and producer and has been in the music industry for nearly 4 decades. He has been the recipient of many awards and accolades and has worked with Al Stewart, Grover Washington, Mindy Bear, Huge Groove, Dave Koz, Rick Braun, David Sanborn. This is just to name a few. The list definitely goes on. I am so happy to have him here today. Let's welcome Mr. Peter White to the show. Aloha, Peter.
Aloha.
How are you? It is so good to have you here. The first time I saw you was when you were here in Hawaii. You were playing with Mr. Michael Paulo. And then, of course, I've seen you since then at other festivals,
Right.
like Brian Culberson and other places. So I am just so glad to have you here today. Thank you.
When I posted I was going to be on your shows, some people wrote to me and said, "Oh, I remember the Maui Music Festival." Wow, that goes back like 20 years. more than 20 years. And
Wow.
great
Well,
memory. It's always fun. It's always fun playing in Hawaii because people ask me, what's your favorite venue to play? And I say anywhere that's in Hawaii.
Awesome. Well, hopefully, we'll be able to get you back here soon. But tell us, how did you get your start in the music industry?
Well, I always wanted to play music. I started when I was a kid. Look, there I am playing harmonica. I had harmonica lessons. I think I'm 11 or 12 in that picture. And my dad gave me piano lessons, and I also played the violin at school. And my dad gave me a clarinet to play, and there was an accordion laying around the house too. But my biggest love was the guitar, which I picked up on my own. No one ever gave me lessons. I didn't even know anyone in my town. That's me when I'm 21. I just started playing with Al Stewart. Yeah. So I didn't know anyone that could give me any instructions. I just kind of picked it up by ear. I just listened to the radio and just tried to copy what I heard. A lot of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. And how did I get in the music business? I left school. All my friends went to college. I didn't want to go to college. I just wanted to join a band, but I didn't know how to do that. So I worked in a factory for a while, and I met a guy who had a band that was playing in a holiday resort, a vacation resort in the south of England. And he says, "I need a guitar player." And I said, "Well, I can play the guitar." He'd never even heard me play. That he hired me for, bless him. And that was my first actual real gig in 1974. I was 19, playing top 40 music. And there was a moment where actually we've been playing every night for 2 weeks. And this is my first job as a professional musician. I had no idea what it was like to be a professional musician. But I said, is this what it's like? You get up and you play for 4 hours every night, even if you don't want to. And I thought maybe I made a terrible mistake, because music was always fun, and I just played music when I felt like it. Now, as a professional, I have to play music when someone else tells me to play music, and it's not quite as glamorous anymore. But I got over that very, very quickly. And within a few months of that gig, I met Al Stewart in London, and I joined his band, and that was my gig for the next 20 years. But get this, he hired me as a piano player, because I'd always kept up my piano playing ever since my dad taught me when I was a kid. And if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have got that gig. I probably wouldn't have come to America. I probably wouldn't be here today.
Well, thank goodness for that.
Yeah. So, and I say to young musicians, it's, yes, be good at your instrument, but the more instruments you can play, the more chance you will have of getting a job. If you can play 2 instruments or 3, or sing as well as play an instrument, you'll work more than the guy that only plays 1 instrument, unless you're Segovia, unless you're Jimi Hendrix. But there's not many of those.
Now, Peter, who were your musical influences growing up?
Oh, well, there's definitely the Beatles. When I heard the Beatles on the radio, I just thought, wow, this is fantastic. That was kind of my musical awakening, was exactly the same time as the Beatles. I think when I was probably 8 or 9 when they first came out. And then it was the Rolling Stones, and then it was Jimi Hendrix, and then it was Led Zeppelin. And, I was a rock fiend in those days. And I was even an Ozzy Osbourne fan. When his first band, Black Sabbath, when they came out, I thought, wow, this is the greatest band ever. But I was 15 years old, and I got over that. And I still like Black Sabbath, but I started listening to Joni Mitchell. I started listening to James Taylor when I was 16. I started to get more into acoustic guitar, which is good, because that's the instrument that I play today. And that started all the way back when I was probably 15 or 16, listening to Simon and Garfunkel, And that was a good thing, because when I started playing with Al Stewart, the first time we went in the studio, which was, by the way, Abbey Road studio, it wasn't any studio, and that was the first time I'd ever been in a studio. He wanted me to play acoustic guitar, because he already had a piano player. He already had someone playing electric guitar, bass and drums. He said, well, play some acoustic guitar. And my life changed, because he handed me a nylon string guitar, which is the acoustic guitar that I play now. Not the same one, but that kind of guitar. And it was because of Al Stewart, who encouraged me to play that song. There was a song called On the Border from his Year of the Cat album, which became a million-selling album. And that song kind of was my gateway to getting recognition for playing the nylon string guitar. And I've kind of carried that all the way through till today. I mean, remember, that was 45 years ago. Oh. And I still play. That's the sound I am known for now, the nylon string guitar. And I have to thank Al Stewart. Nice. All the way back when I was 19, 20, turning 21, to encourage me to play that instrument. Because I could have carried on, being I wanted to be the next Jimi Hendrix, and so I'd be playing in a tribute band right now with leather pants and long hair extensions. If it wasn't for Al Stewart he actually gave me his Spanish guitar. It's the Spanish guitar. It's also called nylon string guitar. It's also called a classical guitar. But that was the instrument where I found my sound. And everybody said, that's it. You're that guy. You played that sound. That's the sound. And, till this day, that's your sound. That's my sound. And I'm very thankful for that. Most instrumental artists, that's what they want. That's what the ultimate in what you can achieve is to have a recognizable sound. We're not using words. We're not using our voice. We're using our instrument. Right. So to have a recognizable sound is very important. Now, with this COVID-19, the pandemic, we're coming out of it. Didn't hear about that.
You didn't hear about that one?
No. When was that?
Well, what were you doing? I know a lot of people were taking their time to, play music, write music. What did you do during that time?
I was on my way to the Smooth Jazz Cruise on March the 13th last year. And they shut down all the cruise ships. And so I just came home. And I started wondering, how are we going to get our music out there? And I did a couple of things on my own in my studio, but it wasn't really that much fun playing music in an empty room to a computer screen with no other people around and with no band. And then Rick Braun called me and he said, "Come to my house and let's do a live stream." So I started to do some of his shows. And then Mindy Abair called me and said, "Why don't you come to my house? We're doing live streaming from my backyard." And I thought, that sounds like fun. So I did some of that, and that was really, really fun. And in the meantime, I'm also, working on my next album, which is almost done. I had time to go and play soccer in the park with some of my friends who play soccer, and go to the pub afterwards and have a pint of beer. It's a very relaxing time, really. A whole year of forced relaxation.
Mm-hmm. Now, you have collaborated with many people, and lists. I mean, I can't even go on. I'm just gonna let me just look here. Your CD, your album, Perfect Moment. You received 3 awards for that. You received the CD of the year for that album. You received Best Guitarist for that album. And you received Song of the Year
from the Smooth Jazz Awards.
From the Smooth Jazz Awards. Yes, that was back in 2000. And I mention this because this is one of my favorite albums. And when I spoke with you earlier, I did not realize on this album also you did have Grover Washington. You played with Grover Washington Jr. And that received Song of the Year for Midnight in Manhattan. But when I spoke with you earlier, and I did not know this, but you had Brian Culbertson, who is absolutely one of my favorite artists, right. Gerald Albright, Paul Brown, Greg Karukas, Grover Washington, Rick Braun. You had so many people on there. So that's why when I say, and there's so many on that album. If you haven't heard the album, you need to hear it. But my question to you is, who would be your dream collaboration?
I think it's already happened many times. For years, I never imagined I would play with Grover Washington Jr. He was an icon. Way before I even thought of becoming a solo artist, I was just a guy in a band. But for many years after that, it was David Sanborn. And I would say in every interview, I want to play with David Sanborn. I want to do something with David Sanborn. Mm-hmm. And hopefully he will hear this. If I say it enough times, he'll hear it. Or someone will tell him, Peter White keeps talking about you. And then I met David Sanborn, finally, because I hadn't really met him before. But, I met him at an award show, actually, in Toronto, mm-hmm. The Canadian Smooth Jazz Awards. And he says, "Hey, you're Peter White." I go, "Yeah." He says, "Hey, let's come to my dressing room. Let's talk." And we talked a while. And then he says, "Yeah, we should record something together." I said, "Yes." So I wrote a song for him, especially for him. That was it was called "Here We Go." And I think that was probably the last person on my bucket list. I mean, of course, I'm a huge fan of George Benson, and I've met him. I've met him, and he's a wonderful guy. Never had any illusions about playing with him, because if I was playing with George Benson, I wouldn't be playing. I'd be watching him and listening and trying. Wow, that's George Benson, But I've also played with Boney James, Rick Braun. We all kind of came up together in the 90s mm-hmm. as solo artists. Brian Culbertson, when you mentioned at that time when we recorded that song on The Perfect Moment, I mean, he wasn't as big as he is now. He was just still up and coming. Mm-hmm. Of course, now he's the host of the Smooth Jazz Cruise, and he has his own the Napa Valley Getaway. A lot of fun. So I've more than achieved everything I wanted to do, and more than I ever dreamed of when I started. I wanted to be a guy in a band. That's all I ever aspired to, quite honestly, Gwen. When I started out, guy in a band, I was quite happy with that. And everything that's happened beyond that, it's just been complete surprise to me, and it's so wonderful.
Now, you were telling me that you actually, for Perfect Moment, did you create that here, or did it have ties to Hawaii somehow?
Yes. I was playing the Maui Music Festival, which I mentioned earlier, and this was, Perfect Moment came out in 1998, I think. Mm-hmm. So that's how far they're back we're going here. And there was a guy there who I knew from before, and he says, "I want to propose to my girlfriend during your show tonight." I said, "Well, why don't you come up on stage and I'll give you a microphone and you can do it in front of all these people. It will be great. Everyone will love it. And we'll play some romantic music." So that's what happened. And, his girlfriend had no idea what was going on. It was really funny. And yeah, he got down on his knee, and I think she said, "I do, I will." Yes, I think she said yes. "I do" comes later, and because they have 5 children now.
Oh.
And he's retiring. He's still a friend. And I said after him, "Why did you pick this moment in front of all these people? Why couldn't you have found some quiet romantic spot?" And he says, "It seemed like the perfect moment." And something in my head went ding. I thought, that's a great title for a song. Shall I play this song? Because I know it's one of your favorites.
Yes, it is one of my favorites.
Perfect Moment by me, Peter White.
Let me give you a round of applause. Oh, that was beautiful. That was just so beautiful. I had my own private concert.
Yes, just for you.
Thank you. Now we have a few more minutes left, and just to let the viewers know, there is going to be a part 2 to this show because there's just so much to cover with Mr. Peter White. But one thing I do want to ask you, Peter, is and you mentioned a little bit earlier, but you can go in a little bit more detail, for new artists that are coming into the scene, what advice would you give them?
Well, you have to play from your heart. You have to play music that inspires you and turns you on. Try and do as many things, play as many different instruments as you can, many different kinds of styles of music. The world is a whole lot different now than when I was growing up. You can go on YouTube. You can become a star on YouTube without ever leaving your bedroom now. I see guitar players all the time who are fantastic, playing in their bedroom. I get, there's a whole world that you can get known, just making great videos. When I started out, you had to be in a band and you had to go out and play. And the way people would see you is that they would come out and, go and play live shows. And I would say, yeah, play live shows as much as you can. Oh, there's a show. That's a picture from 1996. It's me, Warren Hill, Craig Chiquiso, and Richard Elliott on the far right. That was the very first Guitars and Saxes tour that we did in 96, or was it 95? I'm not sure. But, play music because you love it. It was never work for me, really. It was just, I just love music. I love performing for music. But I love performing for people. To me, that's the reality of being a musician. Not just recording, but playing in front of people and getting that immediate feedback. That's what keeps me going. What things do you have on the schedule that the viewers and your fans can look forward to? Because, things are opening back up now. We just had a festival, in Florida and all that. So what are you on your schedule? Oh, well, you can look up all my shows on my website, peterwhite.com. And I'm playing in Fort Worth with Tom Braxton, the great saxophone player. Oh, okay. At the end of this month, last weekend of this month, and then the following month I'm playing in Winter Park Festival in Colorado. I'm playing later this year. I'm playing in Las Vegas. I'm playing in a few shows in California. Going to England in November, and then I start my Christmas tour right after Thanksgiving. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Tell us about your Christmas tour. That's Christmas tour started when I was doing There's Me. Yeah, that is actually me. I actually do Elvis in my Christmas show. I've been trying to retire Elvis for many years, but Elvis keeps coming back for some reason. It started with me and Mindy Abair, who you see on the right there, and Rick Braun. Mm-hmm. And in 2003, and both Rick and I had been playing with Dave Koz on his Christmas tour for 5 years. So I decided I'd start my own Christmas tour, and we would play all the places, more out of the way places that Dave Koz didn't play on his tour. So it became a thing, Every year we went out and we would play a lot of the same places each time. I've never played Hawaii on my Christmas tour. I was getting ready to say, can you bring that tour to Hawaii? It takes a whole day to get to Hawaii from the mainland, and that's we try and play almost every day. We try and play, and on the Christmas tour we always play like 5 or 6, maybe 5 shows in Florida and maybe 5 in California, and then anywhere else we can go. So. Yeah, well, we would love to have you in Hawaii. Yes. You can make that like the last stop on your tour. That's not a bad idea. See? See? But Peter, I thank you so much for being here with us today. Again, we're going to talk about that part 2 because there's some other things that I want to talk about that we really didn't get to today. So
we will definitely have you back for a part 2. And maybe by that time, we'll get some people to send some questions for you.
Questions.
Yes.
Yes. And by the way, I want to say hi to everyone all around the world that's listening and watching right now. Hi. I know, and it's in the middle of in Europe right now. It's the middle of the night, so I don't know if anyone's listening there, but
well, they'll be able to see this. They will be able to see this.
Wait for Well, it's going on YouTube afterwards.
Yep.
So wait for part 2. There will be a part 2.
Yes, there will most definitely be a part 2. But Peter, I thank you so much. Thank you so much for playing my favorite song, Perfect. Oh, we're going to have going out music. Again, thank you so much, Peter. And to all of my viewers.
Nice to talk to you, Gwen, and we'll do it again.
Yes, most definitely.
They're going to cut us off any moment now.
Well, thank you again, Peter. And to all of my viewers, thank you for tuning in. Tune in next week.
Everybody. Thanks, everybody. Keep those comments coming. I love them.